I see a lot of you guys are really concerned about what Kail thinks about Javi's engagement. And you know what? I do imagine that we're going to be getting a lot of kind of like sass about it on her podcasts and whatnot, especially because her own relationship is not going well right now, right? Like her fiance Elijah was caught cheating on her with a woman on a cruise that Kail paid for. And she's been playing the "are we together, are we not together" game, taking off her ring, putting it back, calling him her ex, bleeping out his name, to now going to People magazine to sell stories about herself and claim that he is her partner and her fiance and whatnot, right? Ashley says, Kail, hi, Key, I wish Wabba catered my wedding. Sorry, Carl. Oh my God. And I wouldn't be very surprised, right? If she were to crash out over this. Lately, she has been praising Javi a lot as her co-parent and whatnot. I don't imagine he told her about this before it happened. And so maybe she was kind of pissed off about finding out with the rest of us, if that is the case, right? Can I ask you guys, before we even get into how Kail feels about it, I want to ask you, how do you feel about this engagement? What was your first reaction when you saw the news? Or not engagement, sorry, but marriage. What was your reaction when you saw the news that Javi and Lauren tied the knot this past weekend? I want to get into that before we get into what Kail may or may not have been thinking. Okay, so while you guys get to that, I did see East Awesome leave a comment about Love Hotel. He said East Awesome said Love Hotel was boring, and I turned it off halfway through. Shout out to Portia Stewart Williams Guabadia for evolving into the villainous low IQ thought I always knew she was. Damn, and we're gonna get into that too. So East Awesome is referring to Portia threatening to sleep with Angela Oakley's husband, Charles Oakley. Oh Lord, Portia, you're so different from that evangelical preacher that you once were. Nikki says, I'm late, but I'm here. No, never that. I am so happy to have you, and we're just getting started, boo. Acacia says, Lauren, facepalm, marriage won't change the behavior, and I agree. Leah says, this is a clown relationship with all the cheating. Lauren looks like a whole fool here. Sorry. I sadly agree. Jessica says, just think marriage is harder to leave. Exactly. Not if, but when he cheats again, right? Very, very, very sad things. Yes, Lakia, she was on Watch What Happens Live, and she was blaming it on the Henny. So she kind of low-key copped to it. And Kelly also said that it happened. She confirmed it on last night's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Oh, it was ugly. Raven says, what? I thought Javi and Lauren were already married. No, they were only engaged twice. Shayna didn't get to watch Love Hotel yet, but I'm here for the birthday spoilers. Listen, I didn't get to watch it yet either. I think I'm going to watch it later today. I'm going to do a karate class tonight. So maybe tomorrow morning, and then get to talk about it in tomorrow's morning report. So Jaleesa says, in regards to Javi and Lauren being married now, it only took 8 years, a 7-year-old, 3 moves for Lauren, 3 breakups, 2 big cheating scandals, 2 reconciliations, another baby for Javi and Lauren to get married. And you know what? You're even forgetting some things. You're also forgetting this man getting up there on camera on Teen Mom Next Chapter and threatening Brianna. Well, first of all, he was trying to get with Kail. Kail was not having it. And so he was in a relationship with Brianna where they were kind of doing something together. And then she wanted to back out. And then he says, if you don't, stay with me or whatever, I got somebody else who's willing to move to Delaware right now. Right. So she went through seeing that her man was using her as like a backup to his backup, right? Not the assistant regional manager, right? Not the backup plan. Assistant to the regional manager, backup to the backup plan, right? He wanted Kail. Then Brianna was the backup. Then Brianna's mom started getting involved because she knew he was bad news. And so she was starting to back out of that relationship. And so he started threatening her with Lauren. She saw all of that. And then in addition to that, I'm going to put it back up because Jaleesa raised a lot of good points, right? So in addition to that, all the stuff that Jaleesa said, and then him saying that, she's the backup's backup. There was also a restraining order in place. There was also him publicly humiliating her on Instagram Live with his ex-wife, Kail. There's just been so much disrespect here that I am truly stunned that she did this, right? I was already shocked when she had another child with him, But like marrying him to me is just, oh my goodness gracious. Like I really hope he does right by her. But the thing about people like him who are selfish enough to cheat on their significant others, especially, significant others who have freshly had their children given birth in their damn house downstairs while they're upstairs with the baby. If he can do that to you when it's so easy for you to leave him when you're just like the girlfriend or whatever, imagine when you're the wife and it's so much harder for you to untangle yourself from him. I think she kind of walked into something that that might not be, the greatest thing. Surely he's trying to convince us that he has changed and whatnot, but to be honest with you guys, I don't know. I think he might have some kind of an addiction, whether it's to attention, whether it's to love, whether it's to sex. I don't know. But I think that there's some sort of like, unbalanced hormones or chemicals or whatever in his head. And so personally, I feel like marrying him was not the smartest idea, given what he showed her in the courting and in the dating phase. But you know what? I think that this marriage is a good kind of reminder. So for those of you who are parents, or for those of you who want to be parents in the future, please, please, please hug your children. Tell them you love them. Tell them that they're smart, they're beautiful, they're handsome, they deserve the world, all those things. Because to me, this is such an example of low self-esteem and low self-worth, right? And I hate it for her. I think she's a very pretty girl. She seems to be a very nice girl as well. Like I don't think she's a bad person, of course, right? A very forgiving girl. And I think that these are all great qualities that Javi doesn't deserve out of her. Right. And so just, when I saw this photo, I was quite sad for her. I really, really was. And to be a fly on the wall in her family's house, like I wonder what they think about this as well. How do you accept somebody who treated your daughter this way, then turn around, went on social media to play the victim, triangulate her with his ex-wife, press charges on her, all sorts of ugly things, right? Crazy stuff. It really is. Lauren, I do think you could have done a million times better. I do. But at the end of the day, when somebody's self-love or self-worth or whatever isn't all that high, this is the sort of thing that they end up settling for. And to be honest with you, on one hand, I kind of wonder, are people like Javi, who run around cheating on everybody and whatnot, are they narcissistic? Are they selfish? Or do they too have cripplingly low self-esteem as well? That they sabotage, solid relationships, that they're constantly searching for some kind of validation, or stimulation and whatnot. I don't know. But to be honest, I kind of get the vibe that that's what it is between the two of them, right? They both seem to be very, from what they've shown us, right? Unhealed individuals. But listen, Javi, when he got caught cheating on her that second time or whatever, he started going to Bible study on Instagram Live. So maybe that helped him. Maybe that cured him of whatever it is that he had going on upstairs. I really hope it did. But to be honest, I don't know, you guys. I really do not know. I'm sad for her. I think she could have done better. I think she should have just, cut her losses while she could have. But listen, it is what it is, right? East Awesome says, for those of us who don't understand, Javi is like Jax. Is this another 10 red flag situation? And look how well marrying Jax turned out, right? Not good. Not good. Sometimes there's just something so strong in the head, the addiction or the whatever it is, compulsion, that the person cannot really heal it. Or maybe it takes a lot of work, time, energy, and effort to heal it, but they'd rather be in a relationship than spend time healing themselves, right? Hey, Ramster, nice to see you. And I feel like a lot of people about that restraining order and the Instagram Live that he did with Kail back in the day. To go from that to marrying the girl, proposing again, having another kid with her, it's all so crazy. The whiplash that I'm feeling about this situation. Now, there is something else that gave me a little bit of like, oh, what was this? I have a screenshot of somebody who left a comment in under their photo wishing them like the best and whatnot. And I was like, wait a minute. I know you. What are you doing here? And I think it is going to be shocking to some of you guys as well. Tracy says, me personally, I would never marry someone who betrayed my trust. Me neither. You are out the door. One and done kind of girl. Absolutely freaking not. And yes, Jazz, I do think that that's what it is, some sort of a sex addiction or whatever. And it's sad. Nikki says, they say daughters change a man. Maybe that's it. Who knows? That's so much responsibility to put on an infant's shoulder. I don't know. I hope so, but we'll see, right? They're newlyweds. It's only been 4 days, right? We'll see. We'll see how all of this turns out. Kate says the charges, cheating with Kail and using Kail to bully Lauren, was worse than bathroom gay. It was all so ugly. It really, really was. I'm still shocked that she didn't walk away, but at the time I was like, okay, well, she's got a child with him. She left her state. I think she's from Maine, to go and have a child with this guy in Delaware. And this is what I tell you guys all the time. Stop randomly popping out kids for these random boyfriends. Like, if she didn't trap herself with a child with this man, she could have made a clean break ages ago. But then she had the one, so she was stuck in Delaware, and she was complaining on social media for a while. Do y'all remember that? About she doesn't have like family and friends like in her state and whatnot. She felt very much alone. Like, it was very avoidable. Do not continue dating a man who calls you the backup plan. Do not have kids with a random, don't do it. And so, a lot of times when someone has a child with one person, they want to have siblings, right? Another one for that child with the same person. So I think that that's the road that she went down. Listen, Javi can be a very charming person. He could be a very flirty person. So I'm not surprised that he managed to kind of like sink his claws into her. There is another photo of them. They got married by the beach, by the way. So this is another photo of them. Listen, if you didn't know the lore behind this relationship, you would just think, wow, sweet couple, like beautiful dress, nice tux, whatever, right? But now knowing the lore, I feel like it kind of taints all of these images. However, the people who still follow them, they seem happy with this. They're very, very positive in the comment section. And I do think that that's what they need right now, right? Which is positivity for their union, and all the prayers in the world for Javi's wandering, filthy peen. But we'll see how it turns out. Listen, we'll see how it turns out. I'm kind of stressed for her, but we'll see. Jazzy says, the fact that she married him after all the issues done proves he will never change. He hasn't been held. Exactly. He has to be held accountable, right? This is just... God, Lauren, babies don't change anyone, right? Look at, who brought up Jax earlier, right? Because, did Jax's baby change him? Y'all saw the way the child did not want to even be touched by him when he walked in the house. He crouched down into a ball to avoid that man. And yeah. Good morning, Mary. Nice to see you as well. Kelly says Javi's not into sex addict. He's just selfish, self-centered, untrustworthy person. And you know what? I do think that too, right? Like, maybe the love and sex addiction are cop-outs for, what is just selfish, reckless, irresponsible behavior, right? So I did kind of tease something to you guys, which is that there was somebody in particular who caught my eye in the comment section of this announcement video. So let me put up her comment. And y'all, do you remember her? Natalie with a K. We know her, don't we? Where you guys at? We know her, don't we? That's Kail's nanny. That's Nanny Natalie, who was living with Kail and helping her take care of Lux and Creed. She has stayed in contact with Javi. Isn't that crazy? Because we already know that she's still in contact with Chris. Kail cut her off. Apparently, she was the source who was leaking information about Kail's pregnancy with Rio, and then again with the twins to like the blogs. So Kail had to kick her out of the house, cut ties with her, right? And then we saw a couple months ago that she was hanging out with Chris and the babies and whatnot, and that they had posted it online. And so that made a lot of sense to me, right? Because she was very much there for the child rearing when it came to those children in particular, especially. Those are the ones that she was mainly responsible for. But now seeing that she's also maintained like, a close relationship with Javi as well, that's rather interesting. How do y'all feel about that? I'm going to take these out. I thought I would have fun with these earrings today, but they're clip-ins, and they are so painful. Like, I try to love clip-ins. I say sometimes, they're so fun and exciting and funky. People give them a bad rap, and then you put them on your ear and you say, you know what? Yeah, I hate you too. So she said, I love this. Y'all are so perfect for each other. I cannot wait to celebrate with y'all. Natalie, you know exactly what you're doing. You are messy. You're messy. But listen, so are we. So we love it. We love it. So she's going to be celebrating this marriage with Javi and Lauren, popping champagne with them very soon. And again, she is Kail's arch nemesis ever since she was caught leaking information to the blog. So can you imagine? Not only are you finding out with everybody that your ex-husband got married to one of your arch nemesis, Lauren, right? Like she and Lauren just have been beefing forever. They did like sit in the same room together for like that podcast interview with Javi recently on Barely Famous or whatever it was, but they're still not cool, right? So now seeing that news, and then your nanny is friends with her and about to go celebrate, her engagement to your ex-husband, your relationship's falling apart. Oh, Lord have mercy. Like, girl down, Kail down indeed. Michelle says with a K, so not Natalie, Canatalie. I know it's a very random thing that, that she puts the whole K thing. Nanny, Natalie, indeed. Messy boots, nanny. Absolutely. I'm surprised that she hasn't just full blown come out and spilled the beans, right? I imagine that she has been proposed a decent amount of money from perhaps TMZ, perhaps The Sun, some sort of publication to come forward with her information about working for Kail or what went down between the two of them. But no, she hasn't. She did kind of throw some shade on Instagram for a couple of months there. She said that, Kail is mainly a social media mom. She's not what she appears to be and whatnot, or what she tries to represent herself as. But mainly she tries to kind of poke at Kail, if we could even say that, or maybe she actually is friendly with these people. I don't know. But by being very public about her friendships with Kail's baby daddies. Listen, if we see her start posting with Elijah or whatever, right? I don't know if Kail and Elijah are on or off, right? She keeps changing the messaging all the time. But if they're off and then she starts hanging out with that man again as well, that would be absolutely insane. What about even Joe or something like that, right? She's a little bit kooky. She really is. Maybe Kail was right to fire this chick. Do you guys think it's appropriate for her to still be in close contact with like Javi and Chris and the kids, especially Lux and Creed? To me, again, I understand her being close with Lux. Well, no, because they're kids, but with Chris, perhaps, maybe because she was one of like the main caregivers of Lux and Creed. Like, I get it. Maybe they miss her. And so Chris wants to facilitate that on his end, on behalf of the kids, because Kail won't do it on her end because their friendship is done. I don't know. But the whole Javi thing is a little bit odd to me, but I don't know. Y'all let me know. Have y'all ever had a nanny like this where she was like looking after your kids and whatnot for a bit? Then you guys fell out and she was trying everything to kind of stay in your orbit or stay in contact with your children. Like, do you guys think it's appropriate or not? I don't know. I'm just asking the questions. Carl in the Chaos says, and that's a top level move. She's been completely silent and biding her time. This will blow her crazy head off. And you know it. Listen, new episode of Coffee Convos podcast drops tomorrow. I don't think this is going to be discussed on it because typically they film the episodes in advance, but I think that for like next Tuesday's episode, we might be hearing a little bit about this, or perhaps we'll be hearing about this on social media. Keep your eyes peeled to shady TikTok videos or Instagram stories or whatever. Murray Duda says, Kail has a full rogue gallery bigger than Batman, right? Like she's got quite a few people who've gone rogue on her. Acacia says, Kail needs NDAs for everything. And speaking of, did she make the nanny sign one? Because I know that there have been people who've refused in her orbit, right? For example, when she tried to make Javi sign an NDA, he countered with his own sort of thing, like, I will only sign it if you sign mine. And I think they both kind of just dropped it. And I'm kind of curious if the nanny actually wound up signing one, and if that's the reason why we're not hearing any like explicit interviews or information from her about the situation. Malen says it's weird, right? I kind of think it's I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. She also says that maybe Kail is the problem. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised. She is the common demon's toot after all. Malen says she raised them, and she was very, very like a very integral part in their upbringing and whatnot, right? She was a live-in nanny. Kail had other children to be worried about, and then she was pregnant with Rio as well around that time also when Nanny Natalie was there, then the twins and whatnot. So she really was heavily present. So you guys don't seem to think it's weird, okay? Because she kind of raise those kids, right? Acacia's also saying the same thing. Let's be honest. Natalie raised those kids. So I do think it is natural. And I've never been a nanny, but I have heard stories from au pairs and whatnot, like on, TikTok, especially, that you do grow like a real love and attachment for the children that you look after. And so to me, it does make sense that, that might be the case, but I kind of, wonder where like boundaries kind of come into place. But at the same time, if the father of the children, or at least one parent of the children, is still cool with you and the kids still like you, are you crossing boundaries, or is it just, okay, I'm going to hang out, like, because I don't know, because Chris never lived in the home. You know what I mean? Because to me, I feel like it would be a little bit different if they were a nuclear family, right? With Chris living in the home or Javi living in the home, because neither of these guys were living in the home when Natalie was living there, right? So to me, it would be different if, like, the couple was there and then the nanny lived there as well. And then like the couple split up. And so she maintained a relationship with like the side that wanted to maintain a relationship with her. I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing a great job of explaining this, but hopefully y'all catch my grift. Not my grift, my drift. Carl says they could throw a family party and just exclude her. It would be drama-free. Remember when they did that with trick-or-treating? All of them, including Joe and V, Chris, Javi, Lauren, they all went trick-or-treating and didn't invite Kail. She's still crying about that 5 years later, y'all. Minnie says, I'm not a Kail fan, but it is weird for Natalie. It's so weird for Natalie to be doing all of this, right? Average Canadian Mom says, I think it's weird and disrespectful. So now we're getting other people on the other side who find it to be a little bit odd. You see, like, I'm still having a hard time, like, deciphering exactly where on the spectrum I personally fall, but something about it is odd. To me, the fact that like you would go betray your employer by giving information to blogs and media outlets and then trying to stay in the orbit of the children and stuff, like, I don't know, something about it is a little bit odd. And I think to me, the main reason is because these men never lived in the house, right? So like now you're reaching out to these guys that you weren't really even seeing all that often. I don't know. Something about it is interesting, right? But on the other hand, again, I do understand that some nannies do develop a real attachment to the kids and, stay in touch and come back for graduations and these major milestone moments. So I don't know. Julie says, I was a nanny for years and I'd never be weird like this. Wow. And you know what? Thanks for that, Jaleesa. Have any of you guys ever nannied before or been an au pair or anything? Like, how do you handle it? Are there, families or whatever that you grew an attachment to and, you had to separate yourself from? Like, what's that about? Average Canadian Mom says, disrespectful of the dads, but they are all a mess. Exactly. I think that they are only maintaining a relationship with her to get under Kail's skin, to be honest with you. Tracy says it gives Lifetime vibes. The ex-babysitter files. Listen, Tracy, I love Lifetime. And so now, hang on, let me take myself a little screenshot of your comments because they have the best documentaries or whatever, little original films or shows and whatnot. So I want to see what this ex-babysitter files is all about because, yeah, it sounds kind of like thriller, spooky, weird sort of a thing, and it sounds good. So thank you for that. By the way, Philo is one of the sponsors of my channel. There's a link in the description box that you guys can use to sign up for a free account with them. And Lifetime is one of the stations that they offer. I don't know if it's on the free tier or the paid tier, but it is on there. So that's where I watch my Lifetime. East Awesome says, if one parent is cool with you, it's not crossing any boundaries. The nanny is fine and likely close to the darn kids. Listen, I think that's fair too, right? I think that's a fair assessment as well. It's just also so odd, so interesting. Oh, you missed the Situation Ramster. It was huge. The fallout was absolutely epic as well. East Awesome says, y'all, oh yeah, guys, if you're enjoying today's episode of The Morning Report, please don't hesitate to go ahead and give it a thumbs up so YouTube knows you enjoy my content. Thanks, He's Awesome. And thank you to all of you who liked today's episode so far. There are some nannies I would like to write a book. I feel like it would be so interesting. Yeah, I feel like the stories are always either super positive or super negative. So it seems like a job that I'd be kind of nervous to do. Jessica says, I was a babysitter for twins when I was 14. When the family went through things, I ended up raising the girls. What? Raising the girls? Like you fostered them or something in your 20s? That is so incredible, Jessica. What happened? Holy cow. How are you able to have shoulder that level of responsibility in your 20s? Because in your 20s, you're still kind of getting like your own footing in the world, right? Wow. And so Ramster, if she were to write a book about the nannies, it would be The Hand Who Rocks the Cradle Nannies. I like that title. Tracy says it was just a joke, not an episode. Oh man, and I took that screenshot and everything, getting ready to go find it on Lifetime. Okay. My bad. And Venetia loves Lifetime as well. Mary Duda says, I nanny for my cousin's son and I love him so much. And that is so sweet. And I think also like the element of, it being family kind of really helps change things as well, right? So I do imagine that in your case, Mary Duda, like, even if you were to stop nannying on amicable terms, that you still would want to be involved in, your family member's life like that, right? Your cousin's son's life like that. So I totally get it. Acacia says, it's clear the fathers are maintaining the relationship because they can't stand Kail. Natalie can't speak because Kail gave her an NDA. She's hands off, but she hands those out like it's nothing. Exactly. And you know what the thing is, actually? Do y'all remember Javi was he had announced that he was releasing his own podcast for a while, and it was kind of like in his clapback era with Kail. And then Kail said that she wanted to put it on her killer network and everything and to manage him. And then it all kind of just fell apart. Like, one thing about Kail is she has this man under her spell, and it's so easy for her to disarm him, because can you imagine if that man who refused to sign that NDA, if he came out with a podcast, oh, it would have been on, y'all. He's awesome. Raised my nephew for years while my brother was finding himself. My brother took over when I went to university. You guys are so amazing to be stepping up like that for like family members, friends, and clients like that. It's absolutely incredible. Hey, Laura from Scotland. Everything with Kail is drama, so I just don't trust the nanny because of that. And listen, I can totally understand that as well. She really does have a lot of drama surrounding herself and her relationships. It's kind of very rarely that people just quietly taper off and go. No, there's going to be some drama attached. And finally, East Dawson says, my brother later stole from me during the closing of New England home. I suppose it was repayment for free childcare. You know what? This is what I've been going through recently. Not someone stealing from me or something like that, but the whole no good deed goes unpunished. The way that people feel so entitled to your help and your resources and this and that, like there's no thank you, there's no, it's just, you should have done more, or you should still be giving me more. Like, oh my God, I feel so triggered. Average Canadian mom says, Kail with the NDA is like she's a Kardashian. And you know what? Speaking of, she was talking about this to Caitlin and Tyler on their podcast, and they were so lost because they're not really deep in the weeds the way that we are in teen mom news and whatnot. And so when they were hearing this for the first time, that their fellow cable TV, who's not even on that show anymore and hasn't been for the past like 5 years, castmate is handing out NDAs. They're like, girl, who are we? We're just random people from some trashy ass show. You're not even on the show. What do you mean you're handing out NDAs? It was so damn funny. That was the first episode of their podcast. So if you guys want a little bit of a laugh, definitely go ahead and tune in for that.